Let's begin the lesson. This one should be fun. In the first version of the course, this section right here was called Metal Tricks. Gradually, as the years have passed, I've let this section fall into the background. I would guess that much of what I'm going to cover here wasn't even explained in the previous version of the course. Part of the reason for this is, with each passing era, styles change. In the grunge era, not only weren't there any guitar tricks, but lead guitar was almost non-existent. Over time, lead guitar and lead guitar tricks have become popular once again. A couple of months ago, I read a message from a student, and he explained to me how much he loved the Metal Tricks lesson. It was the thing that got him hooked on guitar, and that message really influenced my decision to make tricks and guitar sounds a bigger part of this course revision. So here we go. This should be a lot of fun, actually. All right, the first trick that I'm going to cover isn't really a trick at all. It's vibrato. It is a technique that separates the good players from the great players. It's surprising how many very, very accomplished players can't play a vibrato properly. You will be ahead of the game when you learn this properly. Okay, so vibrato is this. This technique uses a pivot. I move my hand like this. I'm pivoting this point of my hand right here, and it helps center my vibrato. It keeps it centered. By that I mean I don't start going like, it centers it on the note. Now, a lot of experienced players that don't do this technique properly think of a vibrato as small bends like this. Now that sounds pretty close. But the problem with that is it's impossible to do small bends and center it on the correct note. In other words, you don't want to change the pitch. You want to vibrato around the pitch. So you must maintain that. If you're bending, if you're doing small bends, you're always going to be a little bit sharp. The way around that is to do this pivot. And doing it very slowly, I'm going up, down, up, down. And this pivot point is keeping it centered throughout. Now the other thing that you'll notice that I'm doing is watch my right hand. To keep this clean when I'm sustaining a vibrato, I'm muting the strings that surround it. I'm muting, in this case, I'm playing the 4th string, and I'm muting the 5th and 4th strings with these fingers right here. Typically, I will use my ring finger for the vibrato, but I also use my 1st finger quite a bit, and can use pinky, but it's a little more difficult for me. But the cool thing about vibrato is it makes your leads sound a little bit more professional, and you don't have to worry about being slightly out of tune, which shows up if you play a lick and go, just sustain a note without vibrato. It's always good to have, at the very least, a little bit of vibrato. The next technique is natural harmonics, and these occur at the 5th fret, 7th, 12th, and octaves of these frets. The technique is lightly touch the string. Okay, so that's the 3rd string, 5th fret. Notice that I'm right over top of the fret. But I'm not pressing the string to the fret. I'm just lightly touching it. And if you can't get the harmonic to sound properly, pull your finger off quickly to actually pull the tone out with your finger like this, right when you pick. So here's the note, and here's the harmonic. And sometimes I'll actually do it with the bar. First, get it down with the tip of your finger, and then try other techniques. You are hearing pick harmonics. Depending on where you pick, this is normally difficult for people to grasp, and that's because they don't understand the technique. So take a look here. The harmonic sounds by me lightly brushing this part of my thumb against the string as I pick. That little piece of skin right there is what must brush against the string to sound the harmonic. So watch me here. See, that's the harmonic, and this is the note. Big difference. The harmonics scream. That's a very cool technique that will make you sound much more professional. The next technique we're going to do is called tremolo picking. It's very simple. It's just play a note and pick as quickly as possible. Watch my picking hand. I'm moving the pick as little up and down as possible. Michelangelo Badio describes this as your potential picking speed. You can learn to play scales and licks this fast with time and practice. Now, I won't steal Michael's thunder. He explains this much better than I can in his Speed Kills series. But just think of this as your potential picking speed. You should be able to actually play scales that quickly once your two hands, the picking and fretting hand, are coordinated. Now, there's also a way that you can use this technique when you're playing licks. They sound a little sloppy, but they will make you sound like you're playing faster, and that's just as you're playing the licks. It makes you sound faster than you really are, and there's going to be a lot of slop in there when you're using this technique, but who knows, it might help you impress your friends. The next technique we're going to do is called two-hand tapping, and it's a technique that was made popular by Eddie Van Halen many years ago. Two-hand tapping is really nothing more than doing a series of hammers and pulls, but you're involving your right hand. You're tapping with your second finger, or at least this is the way I do the technique. Now, when I tap with my second finger, the cool thing is I can still hold on to the pick. Some people use their first finger and put the pick in the mouth. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can do this. I find it convenient to hold onto the pick and pick with the middle finger. I'll slow this down to show you exactly what I'm doing here. I am plucking the string, hammering on, and then pulling like that. So exercise 1 is So here is exercise 2 played slow. Exercise 3 is a bend tap. bend, tap, pull off. Very simple. So here is exercise 3 played slowly. Okay, our last magical trick is Whammy Bar. Everybody loves to play with the Whammy Bar. Problem with the Whammy Bar is it's hard to tune your guitar when you have a floating bridge. And by floating, I mean it goes down and it goes up. As you're tuning, the same thing happens, and it can be quite a struggle to get it in tune. And even once you've got it in tune, as you're using the Whammy Bar, it has a tendency to go out of tune because of the violent behavior of the bar. So typically, I will not have a floating bridge on my guitar, or I will not use a floating bridge on my guitar. And the way that I avoid using the floating bridge is I have something called a tremolo. Here are my options. I can set it as it's set right now, and the tremolo does not work at all. That's called hardtail. It's as if I do not have a tremolo tailpiece on my guitar. The other way is I can set it up to dive bomb only. The cool thing about this is there's less tuning problems, and I can dive bomb, but I can't pull it up. The third way is the full floating tremolo bar. I'll have to make an adjustment with my tremolo. Now it's floating, which is great for vibrato, dive bombs, and raising the pitch. Fun to play with, but also it comes with its own set of challenges, and those challenges are keeping your guitar in tune when you're using one. All right, that's the end of this lesson. Hope you enjoyed it. You've got plenty to work on this week. Play with those tricks, see what you can create on your own. See you next week.